Hi everyone, it's Keren here. Welcome back to my channel. If you saw my video a few days ago with the monoprinting, then you'll really like this one because I'm going to be using the same monoprinted backgrounds that I created to create some art journaling pages. I use this Grafix monoprint plate. This is the one I use, so you can see it's nicely used, and it comes with 3 other ones in here. So I will list those below in case you didn't see the other video, but you can always go watch that video afterwards to see how I created the backgrounds. I also used some Arteza metallic paints. These are acrylic paints, and they're really, as you can see, very shiny and very pearlized and shimmery, which is great because it gives you beautiful effects. This is my 5x5 Joggles art journal, and you can remove the pages, which is what I love because then you can work with them on a flat surface. I recently got a couple of things by Art by Marlene. How cool are these? This is a tissue paper or rice paper that has different images for art, and then there's also her stamps. Sorry, they're upside down. Her stamps that are really nice. So I was thinking I could dedicate maybe a page per little piece and make this whole album, even though I haven't technically finished it, but I could monoprint more pages. I could make it like, you know, one with scissors and one with a brayer, and just kind of write little messages, so whenever I want to get inspired I can just kind of go through it. So I cut up most of the images that I could cut around, and then I have the extra ones like the little doodles that I could collage into some kind of art journal. There's the pin and the little clip. Then there's the words that I will cut around for sentiments. So these are really cool. And what I'm going to do right now is put these aside, because what I want to do is stamp these images. Then I'll have both images already ready to go. But for these, I'm going to use the stamp platform by Tim Holtz, just because I am not the best stamper in the world, and I always admit that. So I just want to make sure that I stamp them properly. And how cool are these? They're called Art Supplies, Art by Marlene, Clear Stamps by Studio Light. And this is how they look like if they were colored, which I'm going to do as well. So let me open these up. And I have this Arteza mixed media pad, and I'm just going to basically rip a page out of it, and I'm going to stamp with this. Now, I didn't pick a thicker watercolor paper just because I want to include these in my journal, and I want to be able to stamp and cut around them. But you could use thicker paper or anything like that. And I also wanted a bigger paper because that way I could stamp a few things at once, just to save myself some time. I'm just going to arrange them over here. That way I know they fit, because then I'm going to cut around them anyways. I basically want all the images. Not sure about the ribbon because I don't actually sew anything, so let's not do the ribbon one, but everything else is good. I love the palette knife here. Beautiful. How cool is this? I'm basically trying to save time and doing everything at once. I don't know if I'll do the measuring tape and the sewing one, just because I don't really do that. I don't really sew. Okay, there we go. So I'm just going to press to make sure it catches it. There we go. And now I am just going to stamp. I'm going to ink up all the stamps at the same time. And the nice thing about the platform, obviously, is that you can ink it a few times, so that way you can get a good impression, and it doesn't move the stamp in case you missed a place. I often do miss areas when I stamp. And I'm just using dye ink, regular dye ink, to press on this. So here are the stamped images. To color these in, I am going to use Arteza's Real Brush pens. They're amazing markers that feel like real brush watercolors, and I'm really excited to just try them out. There's like in the package I have is 48 colors, so they're just really beautiful. It comes with a water brush, so you have to just fill it up with water. So I'm going to start by painting my favorite one, which is the The paint palette, I really wanted to just kind of look kind of like watercolor. There we go. And maybe I'll use this one here for adding some shade to this. The nice thing about them, they really are like brushes. So I'm going to go through the colors just to create this palette. And then at the same time, I might paint other things with. It's really fun to color with these. So basically, I'm just going to paint these. And what I'm going to do is I'm basically going to fast forward this bit while I paint, because there's not really much I need to say about this. If I do say it, then I will slow it down. But I just want to kind of fast forward and show you just a relaxing painting thing that I'm doing. And that's it. Okay, now I finished coloring. I'm not the greatest colorer in the world, as I can see. I guess I have to go back to kindergarten. But I am going to definitely cut everything out so that way I can include in my art journal. Okay, so here I have all the pieces already colored in and cut out. I also have the other ones here from the tissue paper. And what I realized is that I had a lot of different pieces and 4 pages wasn't enough. So I decided to just go back to the same book, and I ended up monoprinting all the pages. I know it's not in a video, but it's the same techniques I already did in the other video, just with other colors, and just basically created everything so I could just go and glue these pieces. The ones that are already colored in, I will glue regularly. These ones I might glue and maybe color in on top afterwards. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically pick different ones to glue on different pages. I'm not going to show this process. It's basically just gluing. So I'm literally going to pick this one, put this one here, and like that. Really, really easy. The only differences I'm going to show you is how to glue one of them, just so you know more or less how I'm doing it. All I'm going to do is just use some soft matte gel for both of them. So it's really easy to do. This is the front cover, so that's going to say Art Journal Art Supplies. So I am going to cut this one as well. So here's a perfect example of basically both of these and how I'm going to use them. I'm going to just take a little sponge brush, put a little bit of glue or gel in the background, then glue on top, and then seal it. What I like about this is that it's going to dry clear because it's a matte gel. The same thing with the tissue paper, and I'm just going to glue it to the background. Maybe I'll just add paintbrush or something like that, just so it looks as if it's actually art supplies. And one more. So that's basically how I'm going to do for most of the pages, okay? So you're just going to see the actual supplies on each page. Okay, so I stuck all the pieces on my journal. I cut out some titles. I glued the ones that I showed you. And you can see here I also added some sentiments. I got this Art by Marlene Studio Light sentiments sticker sheets, and they have sentiments in white, black, and craft color. So I just picked some like Art Lover, Craftomania. So you can see that the tissue paper ones are basically white, and I do want to color those, so I'm just going to quickly go through this because eventually at the end I'm going to show you the whole journal and what I did with it. So it's really cool to just see. I did it very simply, just adding things on because I'm going to add doodling and stamping and so many other things. So I will go much slower through the last one, but you can see all the really cool designs on all of them. So you can see there's sentiments everywhere. Now, in order to color these, okay, so for example, I have this. These were stuck with gel medium. That means that the surface might not be the greatest to do some coloring. But since I use gel medium to glue these, and when I'm going to color them, the surface is going to be too smooth. So in order to be able to color them in, I'm going to use a little bit of clear gesso just to add a light coat on top of that. What that will do is that it will create some grit to the surface. That way when you add any watercolors, paint markers, like the markers that I used before, which I'm going to use for these as well, I'm going to have that surface not as smooth, and then it's not going to rub off and resist the ink. So I'm just going to basically add a light coat on top, and this is going to dry clear, which is nice. So if I want to add any doodling or anything like that, that's going to allow it to do as well. But I do want to color these because I find that they're not as nice when they're in black and white. So this is the key of adding something on top of gel. So if you're gluing anything with like a gel medium, you need to add gesso, whether it's white gesso, clear gesso, and so forth, or black gesso, in order for it to work properly with other mediums. So I'm going to do this basically to all the pages, and then I'm going to dry this up and show you how to color this in. So now that the clear gesso is dry, and I'm going to color in the rice paper with the same Arteza markers, but I'm going to just put music and color in and fast forward this because obviously I don't need to show you how to color this in. So you can either watch me color and just relax and enjoy the process, or you can go ahead and just fast forward to the next step. Okay, so basically I painted all the different embellishments, and now what I want to do is basically add some doodling. Now there's different ways I could do that. I could use a football pen, which does work perfectly, and I could like highlight things. I could use a Stabilo pencil and to add some shading, but what I really wanted to do is, since I already have these markers, I might as well use the black one for that and basically outline things with it. So if I want to, I can create like shading, or I can just outline like a regular marker and it will just look really, really cool. So as you can see, I can create these really bold lines with it. And the nice thing is that because it's like almost like watercolor, it can get erased quickly if I make a mistake. Other things I can do is just add a border. This is like something that I like doing with a lot of my journals. I think it just frames them nicely. But I could either do a border like this, or in a second I'll show you. I could actually water it down with the thing, so actually create like a distressed border, which will probably look really, really cool. So that's two options. You can either do lines, or you can create a distressed border the way I'm doing right now. So what I really want to do is kind of have this like framed areas for each one of the pages. And again, you can also do this with another color as well. You could use a jelly roll pen. Since this is all acrylic paints and watercolors, anything basically writes on them. What I like about this brush tip is that it's easy to control and it just makes beautiful lines, so you can really outline everything. I also have the option of adding some stamping, and this is just a regular script stamp, so I could use pattern stampings just to add a little bit of extra stuff to it, so it really finishes up the page. For this one, it's quite busy because it's the front cover of the journal. So what I'm going to do is I am just going to again outline everything and create borders, and you have the choice to look at this and listen to the music, or just fast forward this part and see the ending. I'm okay with either one, but I'm just going to show you every single page because I hate skipping over pages, because people like seeing the process, but at the same time I don't want this video to be like super long. So just enjoy the process. So I'm going to be outlining and I'm going to be stamping randomly in different places. I might take other stamps out, so you might see other designs coming out, and that's just the same thing, the same type of stamping with just dye ink.
Thank you.
So now I did bring some other stamps. These are old stamps. Any texture stamps would work with this. So it was just fun to add a little bit of texture on backgrounds. And again, like, this video is really long because it's a full journal. But just a little bit of this texture just makes a whole of a difference in the background, as you can see here. And you can have different textures. And if you want to, you know what, I can even pull this out and just add stamping to things. So that's almost easier sometimes. I could have pulled all the pages out for that reason. So I'm going to do that for this stamping part. So again, I'm going to go ahead and add and just fast forward this part of the video, so that way you can kind of see how I'm doing it but not have to sit through the whole thing. So I'm kind of adding it around the border. It really adds some really cute texture here, and you can add it around here, around the titles, and that will like look really nice as well. So all I'm doing is just basically transferring the pages. So this kind of looks like drawings. I can even use this XO stamp of mine again with the inks. So any type of stamp would work perfectly for this. And the whole point of it is making it distressed so it doesn't look like all even. Something that I thought I could also add is a little bit of some journaling, not in every page because some pages are really busy, but even just to kind of say something like I love art, I love creating. So like for example, I love creating. So it would be nice to just have like little messages for myself because it says here art is an escape from reality. So I'm going to journal throughout this book, not at the moment because I want to just kind of show you the final thing. But I feel like it needs a little bit of white. So I'm going to just add a few marks with this stencil. This is the new Dilution stencil. It's called A Stitch in Time, and it's a small version. So I thought I could add a few little pieces to this to the pages so that way it will bring some light into the background. Now I want to do this in a controlled way, so sprays is probably not a good idea, but I thought maybe a little bit of white gesso would work, or white paint, but I want the white gesso because it's a heavy gesso, so it will go well onto the background. You can also use modeling paste or basically many different things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work with each like page separately because they're out of the journal, right? So I can work with this. I can work I guess with the back and the front at the same time and just bring the pages as I go. So I could either work with a palette knife or I could work with a sponge dauber, and I'll try both and see which one looks better. Yeah, that's cool. This works perfectly fine. If you want to make them thicker, then you can definitely use a palette knife. So let's see how that looks. So just to kind of get an idea of how it looks. Yeah, I like that. I always like thicker because you can see it more, right? So that's good. I mean, I don't need to add that much to it. It's just a matter of adding some. I'm going to let this dry, and I'm going to be working carefully with each side. I think these stitches will look really cute right here. when I saw this stencil, I really wanted it because I figured it will just add really cute marks to any background. How cute is that? Yep, I like this. Okay, good. So I don't need more than that. I mean, this is enough for this side. Another thing that I want to do, and I'll finish it up, so I'm going to do basically the same thing on all the pages, but it's just hard to show you because they're both on both sides. But just to show you how I'm going to finish up the pages, I'm going to take the acrylic gloss sprays and I'm going to add some splatters to the background to really finish up each page. So these are like acrylic gloss sprays, and all I'm doing is just basically spraying in the background. You can also grab something to create smaller splatters, so that works as well. So yeah, this is how I'm going to finish the pages, and I'm going to show you the final result afterwards. Okay, so I am finally done. You can see how good my hands look like. They look like they really worked hard. I feel like creating a full journal was a very huge ordeal because it is such a long video, and I doubt people will watch till the end. So probably most people will not be watching this part, or maybe just fast forwarded just to this part. It was a huge deal because I wanted to use all the different stamps from this amazing stamp set, and I figured that using just one wouldn't do it justice. And then I also wanted to use all the tissue paper, so I ended up with a full journal, which is amazing, but such a long process to do this. So I ended up, as I said, adding the little stitches and things from this stencil, and I even outlined them with the football pen so they would kind of stick out. So you can see it says Art Supplies Art Journal. I should say Art Supplies of my art journal, so like that. And then I did some journaling, like things just for myself to kind of just feel good about what I'm doing. So I had lots of things, lots of different sayings, art lover and different things, glue, artistic adventures, the brayer that I used to create the backgrounds. And as you can see, I outlined everything after stamping, after stenciling it. You saw the stamping and the splattering. So all the techniques I usually use were done in this one. This actually didn't have any stenciling done on it because there was already a little bit of a white space there with this other stenciled area. So I didn't have to add stencil to this, and it still looks really nicely with the white. This one has a little bit of white, so it looks like marks, pen marks. Then there's this one, which looks really, really nice. There's this one that says paint, and you can see some journaling right here, and more journaling here, the palette knife and another paintbrush is here. So it's just really nice to kind of go through this because I'll enjoy going through this on other times as well, but at least I have a full journal. Like, it's nice to work on a small surface and be able to remove the pages as I go. And this is the last. It says, I am perfectly imperfect. It's okay to make mistakes. And it's a message that I always like giving myself and others. So this is my art journaling. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed my art journaling video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends on social media. I hope that inspires you to create. I've linked all the products below in the description area, and I'd love to see if it inspired you in any way. I would love to see what you created with it. So please tag me on social media, and I'd love to also for you to see me on Instagram and join my Facebook group, Keren, Tamir and Friends Creative Space, which is linked below. Thank you so much, everyone. Bye.